I was recently turned on to the movie, which I haven't seen yet, called A Dangerous Method, which was the talking cure of Freud and Jung. And I guess there was, I saw an interview of the director, and I guess there's an aspect to the movie that involves sex. And, you know, a great deal of sex is related to control, possession, and manipulation of another body, another person. And if they both come together in a committed relationship where they're both in agreement, then it could be termed a contract. We're dumbing it down into terms and phrases here, but not everyone meets their sexual needs in the same way. And some people need the sexual union, whereas others don't need it at all. And it's not so much about the sexual union as the process that unfolds through it, the realization that can be had through it. And this whole talk has been about roles. I've been trying to weed together the idea of a well-played character role and the importance, the over-importance of how well the role is played by the female. The female puts a lot of importance on the role being played well, and the male, coming from a stance, generally speaking, that understands that, you know, nothing's perfect, and you learn as you go. But those really well played roles in life, I feel, as I observe men who portray a particular character, who seem as though they're one within themselves, they're one within their character, have completely surrendered to the character, so to say. They seem to me to be completely and utterly possessed by the feminine. There is a type of surrender the male goes through to the requirements of space and time. And I've said it before, I'll say it again, I've said it elsewhere, that the female, when she menstruates, this happens to her. She has no control over it, and she must surrender to it. And I feel this surrender to the feminine is a female trait, a feminine trait. The surrender is a feminine trait, and very important. Now, obviously, she still remains her own self. However, her self is subordinated to this menstrual period that she goes through. And so it develops this sense of self in a completely different way than the male. However, the male can go through his, process of understanding this, but cannot go through it without an intimate relationship with the feminine. And I have found in my life that there's only so much the feminine really wants to be known by the male, by the masculine. When it comes to women, they only want to be known so much, and then if you try to understand them more, it makes them feel, well, there's a sense of vulnerability that arises, and that vulnerability makes them feel frightened, and then they retract from the intimate situation. So I have found that when women are a mystery to a man, they feel empowered to and emboldened to express themselves more. But when the man shows some obvious understanding of her, she retreats. She doesn't want to be known. And I'm reminded of the, I think it was somewhere in the Greek mythology, and it was related to Christianity somehow. I don't remember where I read it. It was about Sophia. And Sophia was wisdom, and the Godhead and Sophia got together and created the world. And then I saw the veil, you know, those Middle Eastern belly dancers that wear the veil, and the idea of mystery, and I came to think about how, you know, woman wants to be mysterious, and through her mystery she entices the man in, and then she can convince him to invest in her, and hopefully produce a family in which he provides. And this mystery entices him to continue to provide. And I was thinking just how neatly that fit together. That if we come to know something, it loses its mystery. And what that can do is threaten the whole of life. If you see past all the phenomenal forms, all the surface forms, and they no longer hold any magic, awe, and wonder for you because you now know them, you now understand them, then they may become boring and you may leave. And that's not what the feminine wants. The feminine needs to know that while she is going through this process of creating a child and caring for this child, that her basic needs will still be met. And I think this is all very life affirming, because ultimately what this does is require us to get involved in life and find those needs that need to be met, find a productive way of producing them, and bestowing them upon life, the one that brings life to life through engaging in life. And I found that by describing all of this stuff, that's all fine and dandy, but then the ladies ask me, you know, so what do you do for a living? And I go, I don't make money. I'm really, money's a mystery to me. I don't really know or understand what money's about. And that mainly is as a result of my value system. Money is secondary, it's not primary. And it's I need to relate to people who understand that money is secondary, not primary. And as a result, you know, the ladies go their way. You know, they say, well, that was a nice conversation, see you later. Which is fine for me, because ultimately I want the lady to understand that she does have a self inside that I recognize, that is in charge of the show, that is running the show. And yes, she may have this process happening to her, out of her control, but I recognize that she's got an individuality and an identity that is of her own. And I don't need to contend with that. I don't have to compete with it. I have an intimacy with it, and the kind of competition that I engage in is divinely superfluous beauty and bliss. You know, enjoy ourselves, have a good time. Don't take the stuff too seriously, because they're only roles we put on. They're only masks that we put on. And I think, and I have yet to find a lady who's comfortable with that, comfortable with with me wearing a mask until the point that that mask doesn't work anymore in the situation. And I take the mask off and say, hey, wait a second here. I thought we were playing this role. Why did you shift it all of a sudden? You know, I think there's a lot of women out there that want to keep creating this mystery. You know, I'm so mysterious. I'm so mysterious. And they don't realize that, you know, that's just a role they're playing as Sophia to protect the phenomenal world from the transcendent. You know, they play a role as the veil protecting the phenomenal world from the transcendent, because if you leave to the transcendent, then you're no longer engaged in the phenomenal world. And if you're not engaged in the phenomenal world, which is typically seen by a man's checkbook, you know, how engaged are you in the world, and how productive are you in manipulating all the stuff of the phenomena? You know, that's simpleton wizard's trickery to me. You know, money is secondary. I understand how it works. 1 + 1 is 2. You know, but I don't need to profit at exorbitantly at another person's expense. Sure, we all need to meet our needs, but competing with each other to the point of where we require a superior and an inferior, where someone meets their needs at another person's expense, you know, that's not the kind of competition I'm into. I'm in the kind of competition that actually develops intimacy, an ingrained and integral unity, which is reflective of the source, you know. And luckily I've been born with a brain that is attuned to metaphor and can understand that, you know, one man's God is another man's devil, so we can work with this. I can understand that one person's you know, mathematics may be another person's politics. Anyway, people concerned about technology and everybody getting involved in technology and not communicating with each other anymore and all this stuff, I just see it as being possessed by the feminine, you know, being consumed by it, all the phenomena of time, and then the phenomena of time end up being our ruler, and we lose sight of the bigger picture, you know, that we inform the phenomena of time of its purpose and meaning. Though, at the same time, paradoxically, I embrace the mystery, where I don't need to know. You know, I have a strong sense of self that recognizes that I don't know it all. And I don't need to know it all. And if I don't know it all, and I don't make a mistake, and my character is flawed, so be it. Anyway, it's just been based on my experience. My experience can change depending upon, you know, who I hang out with. And that is what it is. You know, I hang out with who I hang out with. Such is the time and place I live.